Food and Wine Insider is a weekly look at a $1.5 trillion industry touching every American. Visit us at foodandwineinsider.com.
At one of the trade shows I go to in search of guests for this program, I hear many pitches from suave salespeople. But Leah Fanning, the owner and creator of Natural Earth Paint, had the best sales person at the show, her mother. Her mother would not, and you know how I feel about mothers, and she wouldn't let me go past without stopping and looking at her products. She's here now to talk about natural products with lessons for every food startup. Leah, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here, Don.
Okay. I'm going to turn right over to Ann again.
All right.
Welcome, Leah. Again, I just want people to know that Leah Fanning is the creator of Natural Earth Paints. She is a professional artist, a mom, an environmentalist by background, and I understand a former ballet and modern dancer. But she created Natural Earth Paints, which are truly non-toxic, high-quality art supplies. And I welcome you to Food and Wine Insider, Leah. It's really fantastic to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I don't think that most consumers ever think about the paint they use, especially with their children. What have you done to raise the awareness of the use of paints just in general?
Well, we're always trying to educate and write articles and blog posts and just get the word out, because you're right. People just don't know, because they assume that if it's in a store and it says non-toxic on it, that it's completely safe. But it's really shocking what's in just conventional children's paints in the grocery store and the toy store that say non-toxic. And especially face paints, which go directly onto their skin and into their bloodstream, are even more toxic, surprisingly, than regular paints. And they have everything from formaldehyde as the preservative to heavy metals, lead, cadmium, cobalt, petroleum-based pigments, and the list goes on of what's in these paints. So,
you know, to me, there's a real connection to what you've developed in Natural Earth Paints to your background as a professional artist. I was looking at your paintings, and there is something sort of from the earth, from the soul, that sort of emanates from your paintings. It's very soothing, very connected. I happen to love art, and I actually do a little art, but not like you do. But it feels like your essence has created these Natural Earth Paints. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the biggest challenges you faced in developing and commercializing your products.
Yeah. Well, I first created them just by necessity, because I had been an artist for 15 years and using all of the conventional toxic oil paint supplies. And then I got pregnant with my first baby, and I had for years wanted to find a natural, non-toxic option, but there was just nothing out there that I could find. And so, but when I got pregnant, I immediately, within a day, had gotten rid of every single toxin in my studio, which got rid of pretty much everything. And so I knew I had to paint every single day throughout my entire pregnancy for a big show coming up. And it just forced me to dive into research and just do what I could. There was nothing online on the internet at all at the time about any natural or non-toxic options. So I found old books from the Renaissance and a couple out-of-print books from the 70s about making your own paints and how the old masters of the Renaissance would do it without any toxins. And just figured it out. All of that. I found a couple of artists through lots of research that made their own paints. And so, yeah, just the challenge was just finding information and figuring it out and using a little bit of modern technology to create some new products. And then once we developed the products and got them out there, I think the general idea of most people is that if it's natural, that it's not really permanent or archival. And since the pigments are from the earth, that it's just going to crumble off and disintegrate and not be permanent. But it's ironic, it's actually the complete opposite, that natural ingredients and natural earth pigments are thousands of years more archival than synthetic petroleum-based pigments and ingredients. So people kind of equate modern with more permanent, but actually the natural earth pigments are better in pretty much every way because they're way more archival. I mean, if you think of the cave paintings that have been around for 50,000 years at least, they're more luminous because of the shape of the particle size. They refract light better, and they're completely non-toxic. So
talk again.
Anna, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no worries.
Leah, you are saying so many important things, but you're saying it in a monotone. And I know when we talked, you were very enthusiastic. And radio is about enthusiasm. Don't be so monotone. You don't have to be.
Okay.
You were such a terrific. Because, for instance, I'd love for you to do that last question over again with more enthusiasm, because you said so much in there that people should hear, but in the monotone they'll tune it out.
Oh, okay.
If you don't mind.
Sure, yeah.
It was such a great answer.
It was a fantastic answer. Do you want me to ask the question again, Dawn, or do you want to just have her go right into it?
Do you remember the question, Leah? We want you to project the reason you're on this program is because you have so much to say and to bring to our audience. We want the audience to hear, and you have to do it by showing your enthusiasm.
Okay, I will try.
And the answer, okay?
All right. Did you want to ask the question again, or should
Sure, I'd be happy. I'd be very happy to, Leah. So Leah, you've created products that are essentially coming from the earth. They're not petroleum based. They're natural. What were the biggest challenges you faced in both developing the products and then commercializing them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I first developed the products when I actually became pregnant with my first baby. I had been an artist for about 15 years, a professional artist, and had used all the toxic ingredients and materials that everyone uses, and had always looked for something alternative and different, but never could find anything. And so when I, just out of necessity, when I became pregnant, I just immediately got rid of every single toxin, because I knew I would have to paint every day throughout my pregnancy, and I had a big show coming up. And so I just started researching and trying to figure out what other people used or have used in the past. And I found there was nothing out there. There was nothing on the internet. I searched and searched. After a while, I just started looking at old out-of-print books from the Renaissance and from the 60s and 70s. And I found that they didn't use any toxins at all, and they used all natural ingredients. And their paintings are incredibly beautiful and luminous today. So I started using these old ancient recipes, and also combining a little bit of modern technology in there to create some new improved non-toxic natural art supplies, and just went from there. And I started to try to get the word out, and we had super great response just because there is no option out there for fine artists at all. We're pretty much the only non-toxic natural option for any artist. But the one challenge was that people tend to equate natural and non-toxic with not super good quality or archival. and it's actually, ironically, the opposite. Natural earth pigments are far superior to synthetic petroleum-based pigments in pretty much every way. They last thousands of years as opposed to a much shorter period of time, and they're much more luminous. The particles of natural pigments make light refract in a different way, so your paintings are more beautiful. They're completely natural and non-toxic. You could eat them. They're straight from the earth, and they're just pretty much better in every single way. So it's interesting that there's that idea out there, and we just have to work to try to shift that and make people realize that it's actually better.
Leah, do you make the products yourself, or do you have someone make them? And do you have any challenges in terms of getting the ingredients that go into your natural paints?
Yeah, we make them all in-house in our warehouse in Southern Oregon. And we we try to get almost every single ingredient locally. All of our packaging is recycled and biodegradable, and all of the ingredients are organic. The one exception is the pigments, because we wanted the earth pigments to be the brightest possible colors, because people are used to primary reds and blues and yellows. And of course, natural earth pigments will be more earth toned, but we wanted the brightest possible earth tones we could get. So I tested pigments from all over the world, all over Europe and all over the US and Armenia and everywhere, and just found like the brightest green comes from Italy, and the brightest red comes from Italy, and the best blue and purple come from France, and the best yellows and browns and blacks come from the US. And so I spent years actually just testing pigment samples everywhere to find the best ones. And we now have about 19 natural colors that we sell. And we make all different types of paints, the children's paints and the artist paints and the face paints, and but they all use the same pigments.
So if I were to, I'm going to ask you at some point where you actually distribute your product, but I think people would love to know, so how much does it cost to buy your paint versus what they would typically buy in a paint that they're using with their kits?
Yeah. Well, for the artist oil paint kit, it's actually more economical. We have a kit that has 9 pigment colors, and to avoid using a preservative in our paints, we don't have it in liquid form. We include the pigments and then the walnut oil, and also EcoSolve, which is a non-toxic paint thinner made from soybeans. So the artist actually mixes the pigment with the oil themselves on a palette with a palette knife, and it's super quick and easy. It just takes like 2 minutes. And it's 10 colors, so it's the equivalent to 10 tubes of paint, and it's $45. So if you think about, if you go in an art supply store, a generic standard tube of oil paint is about $10 to sometimes $18 per tube. So if ours is 10 color, equivalent of 10 tubes for $45, it's much more economical than actual tubes. Our children's paint is a water-based paint, which is also a powder, and it has 3 natural ingredients in it, super safe and organic. And that one is a little bit more expensive than your standard tempera paints that you get in the grocery store. But I think it's worth it to moms, having peace of mind that their kid could just get the paint all over them and maybe get in their mouth, and they're completely safe. So a little bit of extra cost.
Sure. And comparatively, what would the price difference be?
We have 2 kits for the children's paint. One is $20 and one is $30. And so a pack of tempera paint, I don't know, might be 15 or 12 or something like that. So I'm not quite sure. But it's a little bit interesting to our children's paint, since I'm a professional artist and then I had a child and I looked at the paints that were on the market for children, I couldn't handle that they were all really transparent or chunky, or they just weren't quality paints, which is understandable because they're for children. But being an artist, I wanted to have my child to have, actual rich pigmented quality paints that looked beautiful. And so our paints are mostly pigments, whereas most children's paints are just a tiny bit of pigment and the rest is filler, which could be anything, cornstarch or chalk or whatever. So that's a big difference, and it's interesting when you use our paints, you might mix up a tiny little amount, but then it just goes and goes and goes and goes, and people are always surprised. And the reason is because it's mostly pure pigment, and so it has a whole different quality of use than conventional paints.
Hey, Don, do you have any questions for Leah before I continue? Okay, I'm going to continue. No, there you are.
No,
That's okay.
There I am. No,
there you are.
My mic was. I only have one thing, Leah. Speak up and be more as enthusiastic as you can be. I know you're an artist, but remember, the really smart artists are also PR people. This is a wonderful interview, but I want to make sure people hear you. Okay? That's the only thing I have to say, Ann. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm listening to it, and it's so interesting. But again, not that I have to, but other people don't. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. If only your mother were here, boy, would she do it.
I know. She was great at that. That's why she's my salesperson.
So
I like your
Leah,
mother.
Leah, where can one find your paints? Where do you sell them?
Our children's paints and our natural Easter egg dye and our wooden egg craft kit for Easter and our face paints are all in Whole Foods chains. They're in natural grocers chains. They're in a variety of toy stores around the country. They're also all over Europe and Japan and Canada. So they're in a variety of places. Our fine artist paints are mostly on our website. We're just starting to get them in art supply stores. So if anyone has an art supply store in their town, tell them about Natural Earth Paint. We're just trying to get them out there. They are available on our website, which is naturalearthpaint.com. And so also on Amazon too. So.
You've talked about doing business not only domestically but internationally. You have some really unique ingredients. How have you funded the business? And I think everyone would really love to know, how big is the business today?
Yeah, well, we started 7 years ago, and I, obviously was not a business person. I'm just an artist. I went to art school. So I started and just learned the hard way about business as it grew. And I had absolutely no money. I was completely broke, didn't have a penny to my name, and just built the business from the beginning based on trade with friends, pretty much. I had a friend build the website, a friend do graphic design, a friend do packaging. And so it was all based on just a community helping each other out that built it in the beginning. And then as we started to make money and got an account with Whole Foods, which brought in some more money to keep building it. So yeah, we pretty much never had any investment or investor or any inflow of money or loans or anything. We just kind of slowly built it with the money that we had gradually over the past 7 years. And it's grown to, we now have, we're in a 2,000 square foot warehouse, and we have just 5 employees, and we're doing great. We're selling all over the country and all over the world. We have a European distributor and Australian distributor, and Japan and Canada and the Philippines, and we're also in the Middle East a little bit. So
wow. So
Oh, go ahead.
approximately how big in terms of sales are you doing now? I mean, it's a long time to be in the business. Hopefully, it's really, and I'm sure it sounds really successful. So it's a great
Yeah.
story.
Well, our sales were about 300,000 this last year, and so we're still very small, but we're growing. And it's funny that all of these years we've never put effort towards sales just because of lack of time, basically, and because I was running the whole thing. Pretty much all of our sales has come from just word of mouth and people finding us online, store buyers finding us and emailing us. So our big push this next year is to actually have a sales manager to put actual effort towards sales, and we think that that will make a huge growth spurt just by that fact alone. So we're excited.
So just like your paints, you sort of organically are growing this business.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Leah, as you look back, and obviously there's a lot to look forward to as well. What are your proudest accomplishments?
Oh, that's a good one. Let's see. Well, just the fact that we have kept this business going has been pretty amazing with, like I said, with absolutely no money and no startup funds, just through grit and hard work and keeping it going. And it's so gratifying. One of the things that kept us going in the early years is that we get constant emails from people so grateful for that we created this business and that we created these products, because they, for example, have chemical sensitivities and haven't been able to paint for 20 years, and now they can, or they've never painted in the first place because they knew they didn't want to deal with all the toxins, and so now they can for the first time, or their child has a bunch of allergies and could never paint with regular paints, and now they can. And so we just get almost daily emails of people thanking us so much for creating all what we did. So that has been so wonderful and gratifying and has kept us going. And we keep creating new products that don't exist in the world yet. For example, I just created the world's first non-toxic varnish for paintings, which does not exist. Every varnish on the planet is toxic. And there's so many other products out there that there's absolutely no non-toxic option for it. And so that's our mission, is to just keep, creating what is needed on this planet to eliminate all the toxins that are going into people's bodies and into our water supply and poisoning our water supply and the earth. So,
I was building on that. You received gold certification from Green America. What does that mean, and what do you do to give back to Mother Nature, as you were just saying?
Well, we use all completely biodegradable packaging. It's a zero waste warehouse, and everything is recycled. And we use a little bit of plastic, but it's all biodegradable plastic. And we know that, despite using all of that, we're still basically harming the earth by having this manufacturing business. There's no way around it. So we try to give back as much as we can. We spent a whole year doing a tree planting campaign where we planted one tree per order for a year. We donate to environmental causes regularly and humanitarian causes. We donate paint to underprivileged schools. So we're always trying to give back as we can. Being a small business, there's only so much we can give at a certain time, but we definitely try to contribute as much as we possibly can.
Wonderful. So, Leah, what keeps you up at night at this point?
Like business-wise, or?
Yes. Sure.
Well, actually, we've gotten to a point in the business where it's grown to a point where I can no longer do everything. I've been running it by myself all of these years, and I'm not, a trained business person, so gotten to the point where we're ready to expand and greatly expand our facilities and our warehouse and our reach and our sales, and it's beyond the scope of me. So we're right now in the process of looking for an investor or a partner investor, someone that would invest into the company for a percentage of the ownership and be my partner and help me launch this even further and spread the word. And so that's been my main task the past several months, actually, is just going towards this goal, and just have started to spread the word about looking for a partner. So that's the next step in our evolution.
Excellent. And what advice would you give to someone who was thinking about, creating their own business and moving it forward? You obviously had this great vision and idea and tremendously differentiated in the marketplace. But if you, as you look back on the last 7 years, what advice would you give to someone who said, hey, I want to do like what Leah just did? What would you say to them?
I would say that it's very hard to just start a business from scratch and keep it going for many years. So in order to do that, you really need to have passion and excitement about what you're creating, and it needs to be a really quality product that's really needed on the planet. So because you really have to have that in your heart to just keep going and to keep going through the business drudgery and the day-to-day business work, is to have this, this mission and goal and this great thing that you're doing for the planet. And yeah, I would say that would be the main thing. When I first came up with the idea, I was it really literally popped into my head in an instant. I was nursing my baby and it just came into my head. And I was so excited that I felt like I was going to explode. Like, it felt so right. And I was so excited and so full of passion about it, and immediately got up and searched to see if there was a URL taken for natural earth paint, like within a few minutes. So yeah, I would just say, make sure you start your business with lots of passion and good thoughts. Yeah.
Don, do I have time for any more questions, or are we out of time?
I'm afraid not. We're running a little late.
Sure.
Leah, your website again and how people can reach you?
Yeah, it's www.naturalearthpaint.com, and you can email us through there or call, and that's the best way to find us.
And you get one more question.
Oh,
okay.
Well, thank you. So I was going to ask you, what's next for the company? What other ideas? I know you said that you're looking for an investor, so that's an important stage, because I think what you were saying about passion is very, very important. The second piece is you have to be able to make money at what you're doing, because that's what keeps it going. But and then you talked about some of your new products, new ideas that are in the pipeline. Anything else that you're thinking about that's sort of an extension from where you are today?
Yeah, we've also already created a natural and non-toxic fabric paint that's permanent. So there's lots of fabric paints out there that will wash off in the washing machine. So we wanted to create one that was actually permanent on your clothes or fabric. And so that's exciting. We'll be releasing that one soon too. We've also created, or in the process of formulating, a natural non-toxic water-based artist paint. And so that also does not exist in the world. And I actually have a list of about 12 or 13 other products that I want to create that don't exist. And it's just on the to-do list from the line, because we could usually release 1 to 2 new products a year just because of cost. But yeah, there's so much that will happen as we go.
Leah, I just think that there's so much global potential for what you're doing. For a time, I lived in Hong Kong, and I actually had some China made in China, and I actually had to specify not to use lead paint. So the awareness of the paint and what paint is being put on things is just, we've only broken the surface of getting people to understand that lead paint's a problem. And, we're talking about toxic and other non-toxic or other toxic paints, but the fact that you still have places where they continue to use lead paint is just, it's almost shocking because, you would think there's pretty broad awareness of that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's very, very shocking what you find. Yeah, if you want to find out what's in regular children's paint that you get in a grocery store, you can't even read it on the label, and you can't call in to the manufacturer. You have to have an MD, a physician, call the Poison Control Center in order to figure out what the ingredients were in the paint that your child just had a reaction to. So it's so crazy.
No, but before you go, one more time, your website?
Sure, it's www.naturalearthpaint.com.
Thank you so much for joining us today. To be successful, most restaurant owners require extra capital from time to time. When you need funding to renovate, buy equipment, or manage cash flow, you don't have time to track down financial statements or wait weeks for a decision. That's where Cabbage can help. Cabbage gives small businesses access to a line of credit of up to $200,000. Apply online and you'll get a decision right away. Since Cabbage is a line of credit, you can take the exact amount you need. You never have to reapply to take additional loans, and you'll only pay for the funds you use. Cabbage has helped more than 230,000 businesses from every industry, and with $4 billion in funding, Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and was named the Forbes Top 100 Companies twice in a row. Check out Cabbage at cabbagewithak.com/food and wine, and you'll get a $50 gift card when you qualify. That's KABBAGE.com/food and wine. Line of credit is subject to credit approval. See terms and conditions.
Dan Perkins here from Recalculating.biz. I want to tell you about Bob Bethel. Bob's new book is Strengthen Your Business, Fail-Proof Strategies for Small Business. His suggestions are easy to understand and very helpful. Bob Bethel's book, Strengthen Your Business, can be found at Amazon.com or can be ordered at your local bookstore. Dan Perkins with your featured book.
Want to know more about health savings accounts for your company or yourself? Go to 2hsa.com and get a free employer's primer. Health savings accounts are a cost-effective way of offering health care benefits to your employees and yourself. HSAs build retirement funds for your employees, improve morale, and reduce your health care benefit cost. For a free employer guide to HSAs, go to 2hsa.com. That's 2hsa.com.
Our next guest is Ching Lee, who's here to talk about bak kwa. And I won't say any more about this because I want to listen and learn just like the rest of our audience. And to take it away.
Thanks so much, Don. Little Red Dot Kitchen owner, Ching Lee, has come to the U.S. with a truly new meat snack item called bak kwa, based on Singapore and Malaysian street food with flavors such as hickory smoked spicy candied bacon, lemongrass beef bak kwa, spicy chipotle beef bak kwa, pork bak kwa, and free-range turkey bak kwa. A plant-based version, eggplant baconist bak kwa, is also available. Ching Lee, welcome to the Food and Wine Insider. Can you tell us a bit about you and how you came to bring this unique meat snack to the U.S. consumer?
So the reason why I started the whole bak kwa venture was because I missed it so much when I first came to the States. I came as a student, and on very late nights, I would typically crave for something homey, and bak kwa was a taste of home. And when I went to Ralph's, that was around my neighborhood, I couldn't find anything. The closest thing I could find in the meat snack section was jerky, and the texture, the flavor was just entirely different. And I wonder why nobody made it here. Nobody made it available here. So many years later, friends and I, we had dinner, talked about things that we missed, and bakwa was something that we missed dearly. So I started making it myself. So what bakwa is, it's imagine you're walking down, the street, it's vibrant food scenes, and you hear and you smell all the action from cooking and stirring and grilling and roasting and all of that. And one of the very prized item as street food is bakwa. It's a street snack. It's grilled, it's roasted. So the texture that comes up from grilling and roasting is very different from how the closest thing you can compare to jerky is they are dehydrated. They're meat for jerky. They typically put meat in a very high volume dehydrator and remove the moisture over a period of time, usually for 5 hours, 6 hours. And compare that to roasting a meat, the texture and the taste is just entirely different.
So you've been in business. Yes, no,
Mm-hmm.
I need to try some of this product because it sounds you've been in business, I think about 3 years. Can you talk about that journey? How did you go about making the product, or getting the right ingredients, doing the things that brought that authenticity to what you remember from your time in Asia?
Well, we started proof of concept, making some for friends, and there's more encouragement for friends. Hey, why don't you make this more widely available? And then we tried it out at farmers markets and got some feedback from there. I looked for some co-packers to help make our bakwa, but it being so different, similar yet so different from jerky, it was very hard to find a manufacturer that can do what I wanted. So in June 2015, that's when I launched Little Red Dot Kitchen, and we started doing this ourselves in San Jose at a USDA inspected facility. 1 year later, we moved our entire operations to Hayward. There's more synergy in Hayward, where there's a lot of distributors. There are a lot of distributors here in Hayward. A lot of food manufacturing facilities are here in Hayward, and that's when I made the move. And now we have our own USDA inspected facility here in Hayward. And we have expanded from, some small pop and mom stores, and mainly in the Bay Area, and then slowly expand that into Southern California, and now from coast to coast, some stores in Hawaii and some stores in Boston, New York.
And so what was your training in food production? Starting up in a USDA facility has to be pretty daunting.
It's crazy. We did it in record time, because typically USDA facility to do it from scratch, it takes a year to two, but we did it in 5 months. So, but we are also one of the smallest USDA inspected plant here in Hayward. My background is in industrial engineering, so I'm very familiar with manufacturing processes and optimization. I've also got training in enterprise system, industrial system, and I graduated from USC. So I brought my set of skills working previously as an operations manager in a tech company, and I brought my skills there and translated it into food production. But I myself am a foodie. I like to eat. Most Malaysian or Singaporean that love to eat, and we live to eat, not eat to live. No, we eat to live, not live to eat.
How would you finance?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I just had another question for you. How would you finance the business?
We're privately held and privately funded at this point.
Okay. So just more what I typically hear
Friends
is,
and family, yeah.
Friends and family and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You won a Sofi Award, which is an award given by the Specialty Food Association in the savory snack category. How would you leverage that award with buyers in terms of getting them to take your product on?
I think it gives us just that much more credibility, and it validates it validates me and our products that it's something that consumers like. The specialty award judging panel obviously liked it a lot when they call us to tell us in 2016 that congratulations, we had over 100 entries for that category and you won an award. That's a huge deal for me. And then from there, to be able to mention it and put that on our marketing collateral, such as our sell sheet, press kit, I think it gives our store buyer, some confidence about what we're doing, and so that it's more, it validates us, and then it gives the buyers confidence, and I think it just it helps pave the way for us from there.
If I were a consumer and I was really trying to get a sense of what your products are, and probably the frame of reference is, there's a lot of beef jerkies on the market. There's even a lot of jerkies that seem to be advertised. And you have this very distinctly different product. What would you say to the consumer is what makes you different and better?
Yeah, so I think when our consumers, when they see the packaging, there's the big word bakwa, and so that intrigues people. What is this? And over there, we would say this is a Singapore-style roasted meat snacks, right? How we carry across, I think it's similar, and yet it's authentic and distinctly different. I think consumers are looking for something in terms of flavor, something just they're more adventurous now, and having our products in sections that they're familiar with, in next to jerky and next to meat sticks or tempeh, and having our product next to beer and wine, not in the deli section, I think that helps them understand what our products are. I think it makes it familiar and then intriguing at the same time. Am I answering your question?
Yes, no, certainly. So you're in that sort of jerky category. What's the price difference? What's the price difference of your products versus, the typical jerky on the market? And do you find that consumers eat your product instead of other things as well?
Well, I think our price range is very, very competitive compared to other jerky products. You typically see a 2 to 3 ounce bags for $6.99, $7.99, $8.99, and that's where we are. So I don't think that price is an issue because we do want to make it affordable and reasonable for our consumers. We should try it because it's different. I think it's the packaging. When buyers buy something, they buy with their eye first, and they see the packaging. It's intriguing, and then if we do a good job explaining what that is on the packaging, it's a Singapore-style street snack. They would want to try it. I also find that going out there, going to events and festivals, and going to food and wine, beer and wine event, for example, letting people try the product is very important, and that is where we gain traction.
Oh, I think that's very, very, very helpful to hear. You've talked about the packaging, and I've seen your packaging, but unfortunately, this is radio, so people can't see your packaging. It's very whimsical. describe it to people so that they get a sense of what could in fact attract them to at least stop and look and maybe try this product.
I think what I wanted from the packaging was it carries my vision that, hey, snacking is not, you don't have to take fun out of it. It's fun. It's life is a little bit spicy. It's a little bit sweet, and I want you to enjoy the journey with us. And when you look at the animal on our bags, it brings a smile to your face. That's what this is all about. You don't take it too seriously. It's fun. So on our packaging it says, hey, this is something that's fun to say and fun to eat, bakwa. And we have really cute animals on there. We call them dotimals because we're a little red dot, and every animal that we have resembles a dot. So these are our dotimals. We have a pork dotimal, turkey dotimals, and beef dotimals. So when you look at the product, it catches your eye. The animal's friendly, they're happy, and it brings some happiness to consumer. And when they walk down the aisle, hopefully that's what catches their eye. Bakwa, happy,
Very good. Your hickory smoked spicy candied bacon has no nitrates or nitrites. So how do you preserve the product? How do you keep it from spoiling?
There has to be a balance of acidity, some salt, and it's all natural because we don't use any preservatives or MSG, so it has to come from the marinades that we do. Some of the marinades are proprietary. Spices are proprietary, but you can tell that there's humectant in there, natural humectant such as brown sugar that can help preserve products. We use soy sauce, and that's salt. There's salt in there that help preserve products too. Chili, preserve. So it's just having a good balance of ingredients that have natural antimicrobial and effect to preserve a product without using actual nitrates and nitrites. Some manufacturers will actually use, celery juice or celery powder because there's naturally occurring nitrates and nitrites in there too. But so we don't do that either. Just good ingredients.
You work with U.S. family farms dedicated to raising animals humanely without antibiotics and hormones. Why is that important to you?
Well, I think when I snack for myself and my family, and I want to put in my product what I feel comfortable feeding my kids and my family. So, and I think consumers these days, they're looking for, they're more conscientious about the products, the type of products they purchase. They are more socially conscious. So humanely raised products, they are just a more healthful product, and that's what I am looking for, and what I think the millennials, the newer generations, the younger families, as they come of age, when they start buying things, these are the things they're looking for, and I'm looking for, and that's why I think it's very important for us to have clean products when we offer them.
Your products are also minimally processed, and most ingredients are non-GMO and free from artificial ingredients or wheat or dairy or eggs. How does this at all limit the shelf life of your product, and what is the shelf life of it?
Our product shelf life ranges from 12 months to 18 months. So I think you don't need preservatives to be able to preserve to have that kind of shelf life. What you need to do is to marry art with technology. So there's the making of the product, and there's the science and technology that goes with that. There's the bags that you use, the kind of barrier that these bags have is very important. For example, to help have a good shelf life to a product, I've mentioned that ingredients make a difference in how your products have a shelf life, and also things like we use oxygen scavenger. So once you put a product in a pouch, before you seal it, there's oxygen in there. So oxygen is what makes mold grow, for example. So with an oxygen absorber, that can help preserve and keep your product fresh for a longer period of time.
Okay, so you gas flush to take the oxygen out of the packaging, and that helps.
That helps. Nitrogen, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where are you distributed today, and what have been some of the challenges for you of getting retailers to accept your products?
I think, like you said, this is a very competitive market now compared to 5 years ago. We unfortunately are competing in the same category as jerky and meat snacks and meat bars. So if you look at bak kwa and also 20, 30 different brands out there, it's very easy to get lost on the buyer's desk. But going back to your question about how we're getting it distributed, we have one of the biggest natural distributors, UNFI, that carries our products. We have it took us about 6 months to a year to really bring a few distributors on board, and then we have first stores based on the East Coast, and then in California we have Renaissance, and we have a few more smaller regional distributors that we work with. And your other question was about how we got our products into stores. I think we have to find our own voice and find our own identity. And so I think being unique and familiar at the same time, unique in that we're authentic. We offer Asian flavors. We offer good product, and we offer good packaging, and the taste and texture is very important. So getting them so first you have to catch the eye of the buyer, and then also we have to be very consistent when we are approaching these buyers, like, hey, how are you doing? Give them a tickle, and then give them another tickle, and then another tickle, 6 months, 2 months, a year. So it can take a really long time to get us into big stores. And there's persistency, and then there's a reason you have to have good products.
And in terms of, so you're using distributors, you get your product. UNFI is obviously a very big distributor. How are you selling? Are you selling yourselves? Are you using brokers? What are you doing in terms of getting the sale into the retailer?
There's a combination of both. There is a good mixture, actually. Because I think for any company that is starting from ground up, okay, they have to do selling themselves, right? Distributors typically, if you're too small, you don't have enough store, they wouldn't want to even bother you, because you'd be bothered with you, because their warehouse space, if they dedicate a pallet space for you in their warehouse, and if it's not moving because you don't have enough store carrying your product and asking for it, then you're stuck to have some age. And then UNFI, for example, have a minimum number of cases that you have to move a month, or if you don't meet that, then they're going to drop you, they get frustrated, and you get frustrated. So I think when you start up a business, you have to, as a business owner, and the business has to sell the product. So I went to the stores, and I made the visit, and I did the follow-up, and I filled up the form for them, and then we did some merchandising and also logistics for them. So we did everything. It's just like, you're setting up, instead of going to a farmer's market where you have to haul your products to the market and then set it up and put it down. It's the same thing. When you go to stores, you go to buyer, introduce yourself, present your products, make the pitch, and then close the sale, and then you do it all over again. And then you do that to 50 stores, to 100 stores. Once they hit a critical mass, then you can turn over those orders to distributors, and that's when we started talking to distributor, and that's how we got UNFI and other stores. Another way to work with distributors is really to have your customer pull product and making the request. If they made a request form, there's an activation request. Once UNFI, for example, receive the activation request, then they will open up their warehouse for you. So there's you're working on both ends. There's the top-down approach, and then there's the bottom line.
Yeah. And do you sell it all online, and is it growing for you?
I think our sales online is consistent. There's a good mix of online, and then we also do direct wholesale. For example, if you go to food show, some stores, they don't like going with UNFI. They don't like going with distributors. They like direct. They like that relationship. So we do a lot of wholesale that we pull from our warehouse, and then we just ship them right to the customer at this destination. But these are a lot of onesies, twosies, single stores. And then also, I think, bigger stores, bigger chains, they don't want to be bothered with the 3,000 SKUs, ordering individual SKUs from individual manufacturers. It becomes a nuisance for them. So they want to have a catalog and just go through that reordering process. So we have a good mixture of distributed. We're starting to become more distributed driven, but we still have a good portion of our sales that's wholesale, direct retail, and also a consistent online presence. But I think e-commerce is a big market segment that we're not really tapped into yet, so I'm very excited to grow that segment later this year.
Yeah. One last question. What one piece of advice would you give to any entrepreneur about getting into the food business?
Don't rush it. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have good ideas and they have good products, and I think they are afraid of missing the train or trying to launch too quickly. So I say don't rush it. And also my second advice is to bring in some mentors that can help you, guide you through, both the ups and downs of a business. And there will be a lot of bumps in the road that you need a mentor to help hold your hand through. And when you have a good idea, think through it, have a good business plan, understand your competition and understand what your product is offering. Is it function? Is it taste? And then test it out. Have everything ready before you officially launch, because once you launch, you can't go back. But if you're not rushing it, if you've got all your ducks in a row, if you gather as much ammunition as you can, then you launch, I think you will have better traction. I think you will have better momentum with ample amount of homework done.
Well, Ching Lee, I really appreciate that. I think that's great advice. And I'm going to turn it back to Dawn to make sure that we get your website up on Food and Wine Insider. Dawn, back to you.
Thank you very much.
We've been talking with Ching Lee, the founder of Bak Kwa. Ching, can you tell us your website and how people can reach you?
Yes. We are Little Red Dot Kitchen, and our product is Bak Kwa, and our website is www.reddotkitchen.com, REDBOTKITCHEN.com. And we have Facebook and Instagram, and it's facebook.com/Red.Kitchen and Instagram/Red.Kitchen.
Thank you so much for being with us. This interview will be, and a link to her website will be on foodandwineinsider.com tonight.
You've been listening to Food and Wine Insider with Ann Daw and Don Mazzella. Want to join us on a future show? Contact us at foodandwineinsider.com. Until next time, have a passion for food, wine, and profits, and think of our program, Food and Wine Insider.